back to the Real Estate Huddle, episode 123 today, and we've got a good conversation today. You may be like this person that's driving down the street, and you may have had an open field, next to you that you live by that you're like, oh, nothing's going to happen there. And then before you know it, boom, you've got big flags, you've got trailers set up, you've got tractors moving dirt all over the place, and all of a sudden it's a new construction community. So today we're going to talk about new construction and whether it is a great deal or whether it is a trap. It's something that could be not as good as it seems. And so we'll talk about some pros and cons and some red flags that you should look out for. And hopefully if you're a buyer who's been considering new construction, or you living in an old house and considering upgrading to a new home, this will shed some light on whether you are or should be a new construction buyer or not. So everybody's different, but we'll get right into the topic here of why new construction is exploding right now.
Yeah, so kind of some background on that and why we're seeing so much of it is builders are filling the gap because resale inventory is low, and many homeowners won't sell due to locked-in mortgage rates that they already have. So that creates the need for more properties. And then also builders can control pricing, marketing, and financing incentives. So new builds are really appealing to buyers who just want that turnkey living situation.
Totally. Yeah. And it's tough for a buyer to say no, right? When they see those incentives sometimes.
Yeah. So I think that's the primary thing. I think the way I think about it, and I've seen this firsthand, is what they don't want to do is negotiate on price. They just sold one down the road for X. They don't want to sell one for less than S. They just degraded their client's business. So they've been historically very protective of price, but they can do a lot with incentives, right? So incentives, they can work with a bank and they can give you a better rate than you can get anywhere else, and they'll eat some of that cost.
And they're flashing that interest rate everywhere.
Yeah.
3.99 fixed, 4.5 fixed.
Yeah, it's not nothing. You do have to work with their lender.
Yep.
They can still, in some cases, do rate 2-1 buy downs like we've talked about. They can give you money towards your closing costs. When you're building a house, you've got a lot of upgrades. They can give you credits towards those. So they find a way to compete very aggressively on almost anything other than price.
Yep.
And that's really hard to compete with. So
appliances, fencing. There's more smart
systems.
systems.
Talk about some of the downsides, but the upsides is they can throw a lot of cash at you without lowering the price.
Yeah.
And that has been the primary goal, and I think we'll talk about how that is starting to change. But, as an example, they'll give you $30,000, but they're not going to give you $30,000 less for price.
Right.
So I think we beat that to.
Well, and they don't always tell the whole story with their marketing too. Like Gabby said, they control their marketing. So you'll see signs that say starting in the low 600s, right? And then the final price on the home is $789.
Yeah. So maybe that's the segue to the next thing is these sound great and they are very compelling, but there are usually some strings attached to it. So with that, let's talk about some of the downsides, the traps.
Yeah, definitely. I think it can kind of be like a blobfish where it, under the surface looks normal, but you take it up to the surface and you're like, oh, this thing's kind of ugly. I don't know about this anymore. So,
hey, for the 1% of listeners that know what a blobfish is and how that actually relates,
they'll get it.
Yeah, they'll know. They'll be on Google right now.
Just let it go.
Google blobfish after this.
Everyone in our age knows what a blobfish is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Everyone at this table now knows what a blobfish is. No one out
Is that
there
something
has
you guys
any
talk
idea.
about a lot?
Yeah, it was like a huge deal.
Really?
People know.
And like
Maybe we're the weird ones.
Maybe you've now an old guy. You're officially old because we have no idea what they're talking about.
For sure.
Yeah, well, so with that, there definitely are good incentives, and I would say, not to scare people off of new construction. I just set like the neighborhood record for a D.R. Horton community for the most money we've ever gotten off of a home, the most concessions, the most options. So you can still get good deals with new construction, but there's a lot of things people don't realize initially. So you're signing up for a builder's contract. It's not the boilerplate contract that we use for a resale transaction. And so that contract is very builder favorable. One of the biggest differences is a lot of times your earnest money is going to be non-refundable. So in a resale transaction, if you terminate, you can get your earnest money back. For new construction, a lot of the times they're going to keep your earnest money. So that's a big thing to consider. They're also in control of deadlines. So they might tell you, hey, this home's going to be done at the end of April. If the home's not ready by the end of April, they just push that deadline out, and there's really nothing you can do as a buyer. Most of their contracts, I've seen builders' contracts that say they can delay up to 2 years.
24 months. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Before you actually have any recourse.
Yep.
And if you do have that recourse with the builder's contracts, you're saying you can't sue them. You're going to arbitration, binding arbitration. And a lot of these arbiters that they select are former builders who are going to be very builder friendly when they come up with their arbitration. So there's just contractual things that I think people don't see. And then there's other sides, like you were talking about, Landon, where it's like starting at 600. It might be, but then it's going to creep up with upgrades and options. So if you want those things, it's $5,000 more, $10,000 more, $15,000, the price starts going up. They can charge you lot premiums. So if you have a corner lot, a bigger lot, you have nice views, they could charge you an extra $50,000 for that. And there's a lot of things that builders try and get away with, like not doing. Like some of these builders, they're not even offering refrigerators, washers, dryers, window treatments,
Backyards,
landscaping.
sprinklers.
So there's all these things that after the fact, once you bought the home, you say, oh man, now I got thousands of dollars that I have to take care of these things if you don't have, you know, an agent that negotiates for that to be included. So there's just some downsides. The other two main ones I would say is you can have high HOA fees, and then also with new construction, you can have higher taxes is the biggest thing. So sometimes even if you are getting that really good rate, that difference in payment gets eaten up by the fact that you have a really high tax bill for that new construction. So
I think that's something that I've brought this up on this podcast before. The more I learn about metro districts, the more I don't know, angry, not necessarily angry, but concerned I get. Because in the case of new building, if you're on the front end, and I think this is what we talk about, what phase you're in. If you're in the first phase, there's no historical data on the taxes. So you don't know what their debt structure is and how they're going to pass that through. And you may find you're paying twice as much tax to what some communities that might be 3 miles away in the same town could be.
Yeah.
So that's obviously we need to do that research, and we've done it, but that can be a real zinger if you're not looking at it, certainly in a very builder favorable contract.
yeah, and you touched on like getting in on the different phases. How does that affect you for resale? Let's say if you're in the earlier phases.
A lot of supply behind you. So a lot of supply
Yeah.
with building incentives
Yeah,
behind you.
I think that's
So
like part of this episode is, am I better off buying a new build, or there's some downside and I might be better off building existing?
well, we've had a couple people that have bought new construction and then 2 years later had a location change with their work.
Yeah.
And then they have to move. And that's one of the worst things you can do in a balanced market, right? If it's a steep inclining market, then that's okay. But if it's a balanced market, you're going to lose money on that one because you're now competing with phase 5 and 6 in the community that are now incentivizing with 3.99% interest rates, and now you're selling on a normal rate.
Yeah.
And trying to get people motivated to do that is a tough one. So we've had a few of those that we've dealt with, and those are tough sales.
Yeah, I don't know. Another way to say it is just your competition is very different because there's a brand new house 100 yards away. Yours is 2 years old. That guy's offering the incentives for what we just talked about. I'm an existing home and I can't offer those except out of my own pocket.
Yeah. Well, enough of this like Debbie Blobfish like negativity. We gotta get to like a beautiful talk of salmon, right? The salmon of Capistrano, where they just come out and they're glowing and they're shiny.
What's
like,
the opposite of a blobfish? It's a lobster. Hard skin, yummy.
they're always ugly though. But salmon are shiny. I think we go with that.
Some are pretty. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's the deal. New homes are being built faster than ever before. I've never seen new construction going up as fast as this. It's crazy. Like these Richmond homes that are in my community, our community here, because Chad and I live in the same neighborhood, they are flying off the charts, and it's like a 4-month build time.
Flying off the charts in how they build, but they've stalled from a sales perspective.
I don't know. I mean, we got
They've had 18 to go for about 3 months. it seems.
16 this morning, and they have Abby just texted me this morning. We got 16 left, and they've got 48 in the community, right? And they've been selling for like a year and a year now. They started selling last March, April timeframe. So they've, what is that, 32 units in a year? That's cooking. That's pretty fast. So they're getting through these. The new construction buyers are out there, but the question is like, is that always a good move, or are there some traps there? And so I think like the stuff you illustrated, like all joking aside, really good information for people to know, right? Because it could not be the right fit for you if you're so incentivized by rates that now you missed out on the fact that your taxes are high, your HOA is like 3 times higher than most single family homes around. And, you've got a new home that things aren't going to break down, which is a huge positive, I think. Your home is under warranty. That's another positive. So there's some really good, shiny salmon topics here, but there's also a few blobfishes out there, and Jackson's one of them.
Yeah. That's what they used to call me. And with that, I think there's a lot of things, knowing those disadvantages, that you can do to protect yourself where you're not falling into those traps. I think that's more of a risk of being uninformed than just a general risk. So one thing we always suggest is getting an inspection. A lot of times people think, oh, it's a brand new home. The builders are very happy to tell buyers, oh, you don't need an inspection. We'll take care of everything. And even though it's a brand new home, there's a lot of things that need to get taken care of. And we've had inspectors who find an entirely rusted out, needing replacement water line on a brand new home.
Yeah.
Which you would never know that unless you did an inspection.
Or structural pillars that are offset, that are out of level.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
I've got 2 new builds as we speak, in both similar price point, almost $1 million. One chose to do our own inspections, which if you think about it, it's $900 or something, $1,000, compared to $1 million. But you get feedback from a third-party, independent, unbiased authority, not the builder. And so far everything's great, but you get little things, and you got to hold them accountable. And again, we've said several times, the builders write the contracts, right? So you need something to fight back, and one way is pay for your own inspection.
Yeah, and I think that the one good thing about new construction too is the U.S. standards and Colorado standards for good building practices have improved a lot. Yeah. So it's hard to find a really, really bad building situation right now. I feel like the superintendents that I've worked with, for the most part, do a good job of getting their subs going. And sometimes their subs have a bad day and they have to correct some things. And you'll go to the final walkthrough and be like, well, this does not look like a finished product. And then 2 weeks later, it's perfect. It looks great.
Well, and let me say that, there's generally 3 inspections, right? One is you just finished the pouring the concrete. Mm-hmm. We had an inspection. They look at that, pour the slopes, etc. Then the next big one was framed, wired, pre-drywall. That's really informative for the first time going through that.
Yep.
And you still find stuff, small stuff.
Yep.
And then again, much like we talk with other inspections, once it's quote done, you do a final inspection, final walkthrough.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one advantage you do get is you get sometimes it's called a blue tape walk, where when you're going through the home, you can point out any cosmetic issues, anything that needs repaired, fixed, and the builders will take care of that before closing. Builders don't like me because I'm like, give me the roll of tape. And they're like, no, that's fine, we can do it. And I'm like, no, give me the tape. Yeah. It's going to be a lot more.
I've been in some new builds before they addressed them.
Yeah.
And there's literally 37 pieces of blue tape on, all over the place. Come on, people.
Yeah.
Oh, Toll Brothers is a great builder, but we had at least 250 pieces of tape, all throughout the house. And it's just part of the process, and a lot of times, and some are better than others at having the home more prepared once you get there. But I had one recently. It was it was Richmond, actually, in that same community. And they were the guy had gone in and pre-inspected it himself twice and had his painters come back twice before we got there. and there was like very little blue tape. So it's nice when they do that, but that's not normal. Most of the time you're showing up and you're pointing out all those corrections that need to be made, and we're talking little cosmetic flaws, little paint spots is what we're talking about, not like the counters are falling off usually, but it's little stuff like that that you
Usually.
can fix.
Let me name names. Steve. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, I had one where we lifted the counter off I just picked it up and
Yeah.
it wasn't even sealed down, So we've seen some of that too.
There's been some contractors who don't know what a square is when they frame things out.
That's more what I'm talking about.
They
Just you can
forget
see it to your eye.
insulation. They don't shim things out.
Yeah.
And you'll get like different tradies where it's like the electrician does his work and then he's not done yet and the drywall guy does drywall. Now the electrician has to go through the drywall to do his electric work, and like we had one where brand new carpet, like right before closing, when they came to do the blue tape stuff, they destroyed the carpet.
Yeah.
And so they had to replace all the carpet in it.
It's frustrating. I've had ones where they've ran into, like, one of the workers' trucks ran into the garage, and so they had to replace like half the garage door and get that fixed. So yeah, they should fix all that. That's something you should hold the builder accountable
That's
to.
a good thing. The builders will fix it. Like once it's called out, they're going to fix that.
Yep.
On resale, you can ask for things to be fixed, but it's a negotiation.
Yeah, I think the wrap up, generally they're trying to do the right thing. They do. You'll always catch it. The concept of paying a third party inspector is just to get that much more unbiased feedback on what they should fix, which they will fix.
Yeah. How do you respond to someone that says like, well, I'm going to go new construction so that I don't have to pay an agent?
That's not a smart idea. I mean, so new construction, I don't want to paint them in a bad light, but they're more than happy to take advantage of buyers who are uninformed. And so they, out of their marketing budget, are going to pay for us as a buyer's agent to represent you. So you're losing nothing by having representation as a buyer, and you're gaining everything because our job is to protect you from risk, mitigate risk. We've navigated these transactions, these situations before. We know all the pitfalls. So if you're not using representation for new build, you're drinking the Kool-Aid when you went to the new construction. The person said, oh yeah, you don't even need an agent. We'll take care of you. We're really good. And that usually ends very badly for people. So
Yeah, builders can do that, right? But are you really saving money if you don't have an agent?
yeah, I mean, the price is already baked into their prices. It's essentially the way that these giant corporate builders see it is like, that's their marketing fee. That's something they're already going to pay to sell these houses. So
So you're adding to the builder's profit margin
By
or
not
increasing
paying.
their marketing budget by
Yeah.
not using an agent, but you're not actually saving money. And
yeah, the
getting money out.
builder's really the only one getting an advantage from that, and
Yeah.
you're at a big disadvantage as a buyer.
It's not that we don't trust them. You just don't need to trust them
Yeah.
because you need representation.
I don't trust them.
But we're just biased because we're all realtors here.
Yeah,
So, but just
I'm on my buyer's side. I'm not on that builder's side.
But it's a very real thing. You go there and you don't have an agent, you have no representation, nobody holding the builder accountable, and you also are not saving money.
Yeah.
So it's tough. And you don't know what you can ask for a lot of times.
Yeah.
Right? So like you just had a record in the community, right? For how much money you got off of a DR Horton.
We got a ton of money off
Project?
the price. We got all the appliances included. We got a 2-car to a 3-car garage upgrade. We got the landscaping. We got a huge incentive package. Like, if you're good, you can get stuff from the builders, and you can definitely get more than what they're initially going to offer.
Yeah.
And I also think like an average buyer, they're just not even going to realize, because you walk through a home and there's not a fridge or a stove or anything in there, and you just assume like, oh yeah, well it's like it'll be in here when it's done. And then you buy your house and you're like, hey, where's my fridge? And they're like, oh, that was never part of the contract. You didn't read through the 4,000 part list of the things that we're putting in where we slipped in that there's no fridge. So
Yeah. So it's just you gotta make sure that you have someone telling you what you can and can't ask for, right? In those cases, and a lot of people will see just the builder sheet, right, with all the prices on it, and they're like, okay, that's the price. Can we do this or not? What are you offering? And they just go with it. Where you got some flexibility there. It's sales.
Fast forward 6 months when the market is much hotter, everything you just did for them, magnify it by 50%.
yeah.
Yeah. definitely. So, yeah, so the smart way, right, to do this and to approach new construction is I would first start by looking at the values in the community and then look at the comparables, right? Look at what else has sold around you. Don't just be like completely oblivious to what else is selling around you because you're in this sales trap, right, of the new construction sales center and the sales rep is really good at what they do. Like you have to start by understanding real value. And then once you do that, understand that this needs to be a long-term purchase for you. It's not a 2-year deal, especially if you're on the front end of that community and there's still more to sell down the road. Like really have like a 5-year mindset, 5 years or more, to be able to make money on that home. And sometimes like during an appreciating market, we used to tell people you're winning because you're locking in your pricing when you start the process. And then, back then it was 8 months later when your home's built, you've already got equity. In 2020, if you started a home in January and closed in October, you had already made like 12% on your home. That's a lot of instant equity right when you move in. That's not necessarily the case right now. Now that these last 4 years, we've had very, very mild marginal growth and stagnation. So you got to make sure that it's a good buy and that it's a smart buy, and then get a home inspection. Make sure you got someone looking at it. Make sure that you know all about the Metro District and what that entails. Is that going to cause you to have bigger closing costs when you sell? Is that going to cost, or your property tax is going to keep rising? Like those are good things to look into, and make sure you know all the rules. Like, can you park your work truck, your work van there? Can you do the type of fence that you're wanting to do? Those types of things. Yeah, because a lot of people want those privacy fences, and maybe you can only do a split rail in that community. And then choosing the correct lot. So in Colorado, north-facing lots are going to sell for less down the road, and you're going to be more miserable every time you're out there with your pickaxe trying to unclog the ice in the gutter while all your neighbors are just smiling at you, laughing with their lawn chairs, right? As they have great sun melt and solar driveways. And that's not fun. So make sure that you're trying to not get a north-facing home. You can try to get west is best, south is second best, east, and then north is last. And that matters. It also matters what you're backing to more than anything else. Okay, it's great to front this stuff, but the market cares more about what you're backing to. And if you're backing to a road with 2 lanes, maybe not so bad. 4 lanes, kind of bad. 6 lanes, really bad, right? Like there's different good, better, best, and bad, worst, worser, however you want to say it. There's different ways to look at it as far as like adjustments go, but you don't want a location that's going to cost you down the road and that's going to make it even harder to sell. And we've talked buyers out of a certain lot and said, what about those over there that are backing to a park? Like you're going to pay $25,000 extra. That's going to be nothing. Yeah, when you go to sell that, it's going to sell for $50,000 more and instantly give you some equity. So sometimes the upgrade to get a better location is worth it. Sometimes it's not worth it because the lot premium is too high. So we can evaluate that.
Well, and we can get people lots that they didn't even know were available. Mm-hmm. I've been able to talk to builders and find out and say, okay, well, what lots do you have coming soon? Do you have any that back to open space? Can you build this model my client wants there? So there's times where the client's like, oh, well, there's none of this model that are back in open space, but we can actually find something with their timeline that'll work. So,
or maybe they'll release one early.
Exactly. Yeah.
We did that. Recently, we just swapped what they released.
Yeah. Yep. So there's options there, and they can be more flexible than what they lead you to believe sometimes, as far as the building team goes. And then working with an agent that knows the building process and understands how builders work, and and how to help you through that, I think is huge. So, yeah. So in conclusion, always want to look through all those things, handle things with best practices. With new construction, know that there are some red flags to look out for. Don't be fooled by the quick sale move-ins, incentive. Sometimes that's not the best location, right? If they're offering a killer incentive, maybe it's because the location is awful and you're going to hate your life for the next 10 years. Okay. So just be aware of that. Be aware of the starting in the low but then the number ending up much higher, and just understanding that there's a process in pricing. There's the the home price, and then there's the lot premium on top of that, and then there's the upgrades on top of that. That's why it ends up being so different from what their sign says. So it's a little bit of a bait and switch, but rarely do people buy a home and actually get what's on the sign. They're typically paying more for that. But new construction isn't automatically a good deal or a trap. It's a chess match. You got to make sure that you're paying attention, and the people that win are the ones that know the game that they're playing. That's huge. So if this is you, if you're thinking about maybe buying new construction, or if you know someone who is, definitely give us a call. We'd love to walk them through that. And in each specific community and scenario, may cause us to advise them differently just based on fundamentals and best practices of buying new homes. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.